Let's see how a perfectly competitive firm decides on what output to produce. As we already know, perfectly competitive firm does not have any pricing decision to make. So here's the table. It's already filled with numbers, but let me walk you through the numbers. So first of all, the first two columns, L and Q, the production function. It shows you the maximum amount of output that you could produce with given amounts of labor. We are of course assuming that there is only one input. So one labor or laborer will produce 15 units, 2 will produce 31, and so on. The third and the fourth column we are also familiar with because they show you the marginal product and the average product. The marginal product is the extra output that you get if you employ one more unit of labor. So from 0 to 1 you get 15, so the marginal product is 15. From 1 to 2 you get 31 minus 15, 16, so the marginal product is 16. What about average product? Average product is the total output, 15 in this case, divided by the number of inputs, which is 1, so the average product is 15. Similarly, 15 and a half. What about variable cost? We know that the wages are equal to 20. So the variable cost is nothing but the wage rate multiplied by the number of labor. So if you are using one laborer, then the variable cost is 20, and so on. What is the marginal cost? The marginal cost is the extra cost of producing one more unit. If you go from 0 to 15, what is the extra cost of producing 15 units? Well, it's just the variable cost, 20. It is the extra cost per unit, so the 20 has to be divided by 15 to get a marginal cost of 1.33. Similarly, when you produce 31 units, the extra cost of producing the 16 units is given by the extra variable cost, which is 40, divided by 16, which is the extra number of units, so that is 1.25. Now turn to average variable cost. Average variable cost is the total variable cost divided by the output. Again, the variable cost is given here as 20 and the quantity is 15. So the average variable cost for the first 15 units is 1.33, and so on. Now the average fixed cost. We need to know the fixed cost to find out the average fixed cost. Let's suppose that the fixed cost is equal to 50. So then the average fixed cost is this fixed cost of 50 divided by the output, 3.33. And so the average fixed cost, as you can see, comes down all the time. So then what is the average total cost? So average fixed cost is given by 3.33, average variable cost 1.33. So the total fixed cost comes to 4.67. So you can get the average total cost in the same way. We can see that the marginal product first goes up and then comes down. Similarly, so does the average product. Similarly, the marginal cost and average variable cost first go down and then they go up. So that gives you a good relationship between productivity and costs. When the marginal product is increasing, the marginal cost has to go down. Similarly, there is a relationship between average product and average variable cost. The average product initially goes up and then comes down. So what must happen to the average variable cost? It must first come down and then go up, and which you can see with these numbers as well. Finally, what is the shape of the average total cost? The average fixed cost keeps going down all the time. So when you add the average variable cost and the average fixed cost, you get a U-shaped curve as well. Now look at the profits. Profit is nothing but total revenue minus total cost. How are we going to calculate total revenue? Price into Q. Let's suppose the price is equal to 5 as before. So 5 into 15, which is 75, and so on. So where do you get the maximum profit? Well, out here. And that you can achieve by either producing 68 or 72 units using either 5 or 6 units of labor. So is there some other way of figuring out what is the right amount of output to choose? If you remember, we used a particular method when we were talking about a firm deciding on the right number of laborers to use. So what we did was we looked at the contribution of each unit of labor and seeing whether it was worthwhile or not. We can do the same here. For instance, how much does the first unit of labor produce? 15. And how much is that worth? 75. So the contribution or the value of the first unit of labor is 75. Well, how much extra output do you get from the second unit of labor? 16. So now you got to multiply 16 by 5 and you will get 80. Should you hire the first unit of labor? Well, sure, he gets you 75, but he costs only 20, so he's certainly valued. Should you hire the next guy? Absolutely. He gives you even more. He gives you 80 rupees, while he costs only 20. Should you hire the third guy? Yes. He gets you 85 and he costs you 20. How about the fourth? Yes, 55 versus 20. The fifth? Yes, 45 versus 20. The sixth, well, okay, because you're neither gaining nor losing, but certainly not the seventh, because he gets you only 5 and he costs you 20. So where should you have stopped? As we said earlier, you stop at the point where the marginal revenue product is equal to the wage rate. So can we think of a similar rule here? Let's think in terms of, should I produce the first 15 units of output? Well, those 15 units of output give you 75. What is the cost of those 15 units of output? Well, it's only 20. So they are definitely worth it. Or we can put it in another way. We can say that each of those units give you 5 rupees and they cost you the marginal cost, which is 1.33. So it's 5 versus 1.33. So the price is greater than the marginal cost, so therefore they are certainly worth it. Should you produce the next 16 units? Let's look at the numbers. The next 16 units, the price is still 5, but now the marginal cost has come down to 1.25. So certainly price is greater than marginal cost, and that will work very well. And you can continue this way. As long as the price is greater than the marginal cost, it will be worthwhile to produce more. When you produce another 4 units, when your total is 72, the price becomes equal to marginal cost. And therefore, you don't add anything to your profit. Should you produce those additional 4 units? Well, it's not going to make any difference. But should you produce the last unit? Definitely not, because the price now is less than the marginal cost. So you're going to add more to your costs than to your profits. So at what point should a perfectly competitive firm stop producing more? Or what is the right amount to produce? The right amount to produce is such that the price is equal to marginal cost, which in this case comes to 72 units of output.